some of the examples I have. Here's Catlin orchid. This is called the queen of the orchid because, you know, just look at the beautiful flowers. This is what they make corsages out of.
Oh,
and
okay.
This is fairly easy. This is a tree grower, you know. So when you water it, you got to be careful that you water it and let it completely dry out before it you re-water it. A lot of times, you know, ground orchids, and there's two different kinds, ground orchids and tree growers. This is a tree grower, so it's going to dry out between waterings. You know, have it out of the heater and air conditioning vent, and then light, sun, and fertilize once a month during the summer. So this is a great orchid that, in fact, that it reblooms. So when it gets done flowering, cut it at the base and fertilize it, and it may rebloom.
Okay, the base down here?
Right at this bottom part right here. You want to cut that off, and you may get some reflowering. So it's this one's covered with about 5 different flower stalks.
It's gorgeous.
Here's a species orchid called Green Goddess. This is a fairly easy orchid to grow. You know, it takes a lot of abuse in cold weather. I've actually
the orchid I need.
Exactly. It's a ground orchid. See, it's planted in potting mix, and this is a great orchid. You can put it out in your sunroom or in your patio or your screen porch. This takes around 40 degrees, so keeping it out there is not a problem. Comes back every year. I've done it myself.
Okay.
Here's a new orchid that's gaining popularity.
It's stunning.
This is unbelievable amount of flowers. You know, just look at that amount. Just look like false, almost, not even real ones. But this is a pansy orchid.
Okay.
This is a ground dweller too. You can see it's got, you know, more sphagnum moss in there. It likes water continually, unlike the air type. You know, this is going to grow, you know, with constant moisture, bloom in the spring and the fall. So a great one there.
Beautiful.
This is a hybrid. You know, this is a great orchid here, and this will actually flower for around 5 months. So you can, you know, you can get started on this. And I used to have 50. I just, you know, buy one, buy another. You know, when you start going to the orchid places, you know, they have a great selection also at Ace Hardware. Yeah. Here's a moth orchid. Here's a new variety. Has this little cup right there. You know, one thing great about this one too is it reblooms. So, you know, the Catlin and the Phalaenopsis is a rebloomer. So when it gets done flowering, you want to cut about 1/4 inch above the node. Okay. Fertilize it, and you're in great shape. One thing you want to remember: if you see any spotting on orchids, that you want to take care of it with it. Here's a common product, cinnamon. So when you get done cutting it, drop a little cinnamon on there, and it prevents fungus. If you can see a little fungal spot, put a little bit of cinnamon on there. It prevents fungus. Easy, organic, and easy to do. Okay? They got one more here called the nun orchid. Now, actually, if you live in a warmer part of Jacksonville, Santa Monica, you can actually plant these under trees, cover them. You know, they want to be high and dry. You want to mix in some orchid mix right here. What's the difference is orchid mix has got a lot of bark in it, okay? But this, you can get this at Ace Hardware where you're planting it. Make sure it's high and dry. Cover it during the winter. A beautiful flower. It's got, you know, all different kind of colors. They come in orange and red and white. You know, this is a great, great orchid. Easy to take care of. Repotting them maybe about once every 2 years, and you're going to have healthy, good-looking orchids.
Okay, well, thank